literally a new rule has been clarified and created that says that, during a race safety car race restart, you have to be behind the car in front. And Ted Kravitz literally called it, or Crofty literally called it, the Max Verstappen protocol, because they know that everything he did last season was just so wrong and flagrant.
I think you're right. There was a lot of interesting action happening in the midfield, and a lot of, like, on the little graphics on the side, the bar, you'd see things like battle for eighth, and you're thinking, eighth, okay. But it's quite nice to see that there's like three cars that are like so close together, and yeah, they managed to keep it going for a while, and like it's just nice to see the cleaner, closer racing. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. You're here with me, a very sleep deprived Marium, and my co-host Paris, and we are here to talk to you about the Australian Grand Prix, which was at an ungodly hour on a Sunday. Just not okay, but I know that we can't complain because there's people around the world in America who have to deal with European races at ridiculous times. But for us, getting up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday just is not okay.
No.
But anyway, it was a interesting race. First race back in Melbourne since 2019 because of COVID. And yeah, I suppose it did deliver
Definitely.
points. Yeah.
I mean, there was overtaking, there was safety cars, there were DNFs, reliability issues. I feel like there were a lot of good things that happened, or interesting things that happened this race. Probably not so good for some. So yeah, no, I think it was a really good race, actually. Nice to be back in Australia. The fans all seemed really happy. Daniel Ricciardo seemed really happy, and there seemed to be a lot of buzz around the weekend, which is always really fun to see. Gets us hyped, gets us wanting to actually wake up at 5:45 in the morning for this race. I'm not a morning person either, so that was very hard for me, but I did it, and it wasn't too bad in the end.
Yeah, I suppose not. I mean, there's just one weekend, right? I mean, I know in a few weekends we've got Miami, and that finishes, I think, at like 10 p.m. or something. It starts at 8 and it finishes at 10, which, to be fair, I don't mind a later race. I'd rather that than a morning race. But anyway,
cool. Let's get into it.
Well, I suppose, like you said, there were a lot of talking points. We had a lot of things happen in the car. There are a lot of safety cars this race. I suppose we can start off with quali, because something happened with the guy who's really well known for being involved in collisions and situations on a Saturday. I think the past 3 weekends now he's been involved in an accident, and that is Nicholas Latifi for Williams. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a collision with Stroll of Aston Martin, and whose fault do you think that was?
I mean, personally, I feel like if you've just let someone through, they are not going to expect you to overtake them, and it's a little bit of common sense. I think technically it was Stroll's fault because you've got the car overtaking you from behind, and he moved off of his line. So in that technical analysis way, yes, it is Stroll's fault because he could have checked before he moved and he didn't, or maybe he did but didn't react fast enough and was already kind of moving as he was checking. But realistically, are you expecting a person who literally seconds before just let you through to be overtaking you? No, you wouldn't. That's the whole point of them letting you through, is that now you're in front, okay? So personally, I'm Team Lance Stroll on this one. I think Latifi made a bad call, and I think it just adds to his lack of acumen in driving and racing and understanding how to be on a Formula One racetrack. So I think Latifi is going to be gone at the end of this year. I am putting money on it. I feel like all of these little mistakes are costing Williams time and money, like especially in the cost cap era. Like now they've had to rebuild his car like 3 times. I'm sure, surprised they even have any parts left to do it.
And there's a very strict budget cap this year as well, isn't there? So
exactly. So no, I think he just needs to play it very safe for the next few races. Just follow an Albon's lead and stay on that track and be very calm and collected and do as much as he can.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think if you look at the incident without context, which is how I first saw it, because I didn't watch Quali live, and I saw just the accident and I was like, what the hell are you doing, Lance? Like, he literally so clearly just goes like straight into Latifi, and you're just like, that looks so intentional. But then if you watch the wider thing and see the whole thing and see that, Latifi has just let him through, it is a bit like, okay, well, why is Latifi then trying to go? I don't know. I see your point. So I don't want to comment on whose side I'm on because I actually don't think I know. I think they're both equally to blame. But it looked like a bit of a nasty and expensive crash for Williams. I mean, Stroll, to be fair, had a really unlucky weekend anyway. Like getting a penalty, 5-second time penalty in the race as well. So Aston Martin at the moment, I'm really sorry, but I don't understand.
To be fair though, to be fair to Aston, the team, they did make some really good calls getting Stroll up into the points in today's race before he got his time penalties. And so they tried their hardest, but their hardest just was very bad this weekend. But let's talk about the race since we kind of made our way there. You had a really good start from Charles Leclerc off of the start line. He literally managed to kind of get away from Verstappen very, very quickly. There wasn't too many bad things until Carlos Sainz has an issue and goes off into the gravel in the second lap, triggering a safety car. Ferrari have been doing so well, and I think them thinking that they probably were on for at least a podium for both cars, if not a 1-2, if they could beat out Red Bull. So I think that really screwed him a little bit. He tweeted after the race and he said, it's very difficult to digest this. It just happened to have an issue with his steering wheel. They replaced the steering wheel and then he still had a similar issue causing him to stall. And then as he was trying to correct the stall, he spun out, ended up in the gravel. So, he's partially blaming the technical aspect of it, but also himself because he made the mistake trying to correct it. And I think it was just really unfortunate for him. I don't think there'll be similar mistakes in the future, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sainz is actually a really good driver. We've both said it before. He knows what he's doing. And he's up there in the top 5, I think, in terms of skill. I was just gutted because I was like, that puts an end to Ferrari's streak of having both their drivers on the podium. I mean, it's only been 2 races. But I was just really sad because obviously I'm a Ferrari girl and I want Ferrari to do well this year. And then to just see both the Red Bulls directly behind Leclerc, I was like, how is he going to manage to fend them both off for the entire race? Because Sainz's accident happened, or going off happened literally at the start of the race. So it literally meant another 56 laps for Leclerc to fend off both the Red Bull drivers by himself. But
even after the safety car came out, there was that moment where Verstappen was kind of close to him, and you heard Verstappen's race engineer being like, "Remember the restart protocols," which I thought was so interesting actually, because if you remember in last year and last season, he would always pull alongside Lewis Hamilton, and whoever was first, he basically used to just aggressively pull up alongside them, hustling them along. And literally a new rule has been clarified and created that says that, you know, during a race safety car race restart, you have to be behind the car in front, and it's like literally a new technical guideline. And Ted Kravitz literally called it, or Crofty literally called it, the Max Verstappen protocol, because they know that everything he did last season was just so wrong and flagrantly like breaching all the rules, and it just calls into question all of the stewards' decisions last year to not penalise him for these things. But it means that we're going to get so much cleaner racing from him and Leclerc, and I think that really helps Leclerc this year to cement his position. Because he does race by the rules, and you know, he'll benefit because this is his style of clean racing.
First of all, let's just say that the 2021 World Championship is just a write-off, because Max did push the limits and boundaries on a lot of rules last year. So I'm quite glad that they've put that into place this year, because you're so right. He would literally be pulling up so close to the point where it looked like he was about to overtake, which is not allowed.
Yeah, if you remember Silverstone, that's pretty much like what was happening at one of the restarts.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really glad that that's been put into place. But speaking of Max, I suppose the next big talking point is the fact that he ended up with a DNF.
Yep.
Which is what, the second one this year?
Yeah.
We're 3 races in. He's already had 2 DNFs.
Mm-hmm.
A world champion. You know,
it's affecting his points. He has expressed how unhappy he is with Red Bull because of it. He is very, you know, vociferously expressing that opinion. And I think I love it. I'm just like, yay, go Red Bull.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's unfortunate for his race. He got, let me see if I can figure out where he actually ended up DNFing. But it was a lot, very, very, very far into it.
It was like lap 4, like around lap 40, I think.
39, like yeah, literally lap 39. So I feel like if Red Bull cars cannot go to the end of the race, you know, how is this? I said this in the first race. How is this going to affect reliability? It means that Mercedes are ahead in the Constructors' Championships of Red Bull behind Ferrari, even though we know that Mercedes haven't even had the greatest car for the beginning of the season. They've been struggling with aero issues, you know, all sorts of issues. And Red Bull have looked like they've had the stronger car, at least faster on pace. But they seem to be having reliability issues with their engine. Max is the one that's suffering because of it.
Yeah, I'm glad it's Max and not Checo.
Same.
But yeah, so that's what happened. So he was racing, and then all of a sudden his engineer got onto the radio and was like, just pulled to the side after, I think it was like turn 2 or something, with an engine issue, and that was it. He was out of the race, and I was like, okay, then. I think all of a sudden that pushed
Russell
into the podium positions.
Yeah.
And Hamilton was just behind him, I think.
Yeah, so Russell benefited from one of the earlier safety cars and managed to pit under the safety car, even though Lewis had just pit. So had Lewis managed to hold on for 1 or 2 more laps, they probably, you know, the driver who's in front, which was Lewis, usually has first call on when they pit. And, you know, he probably was like, okay, cool, I'll pit now. You know, it's getting into the pit window, and then that will allow Russell to pit. And for some reason, he's just been really unlucky with safety cars. The same thing happened, or a similar thing happened in Jeddah, where he couldn't pit under the safety car because he missed the window, you know, the entrance into the pit lane because one of the cars was stopped in front of it. So I feel like he's just been really unlucky with pit stops. Otherwise, you know, chances are we would have seen a Lewis Hamilton podium in that instance. But, you know, you've got George who's benefiting from these podiums, and, you know, rightly so, whoever gets it kind of thing. But it's just interesting to see, right?
Yeah. I think that's 1 podium each for them now this year.
Yeah.
But it's quite nice because it's like, okay, George is just making a little name for himself in the team.
Mm.
Um, and I have no qualms against George. His racing has been good so far. You know, he had a few issues last year, but he's in a new team now. He's here to kind of show that he can be Lewis Hamilton's teammate, you know, so you'd expect podiums from him.
Exactly.
And
And
I
I
think he did
always
really
say,
well.
exactly, he did do really well. And I always say that in order to benefit from other people's fuck ups, you have to be in the right position. And if he's not in the right position, if he was doing badly, he wouldn't have been in the position to benefit from that. So,
Yeah.
it's really good that he was there, and he did benefit. Him and Lewis just had like a nice little race in between. They were a bit further off from Perez. I think they were about 20 seconds behind Perez, and then 10 seconds behind them was the two McLarens, who did a lot better this weekend as well. So yeah, like I think just overall points for Mercedes, like well done to them.
Yeah, I know. It was quite nice to see them back up there at the top of the field. And like, sorry, like you say, the McLaren boys were also doing quite well this weekend. So it makes you think, has there been some sort of improvement with like the Mercedes PUs or something? I don't know. But it was quite nice to see as well for Ricciardo to do well in his home race. Well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, it was just nice to see Mercedes up there, and good racing from George. Um, the other thing that we actually saw a lot of in the race today was something that you commented on a lot last year in a
Yeah.
lot of our videos, which was the midfield battles. I think we both said last year that there was so many good midfield battles going on, and in a time where you know who the race leader is, you know that like they're kind of racing by themselves, we don't really need to see that. Like there's a lot more action going on like behind them to show us that. And I think yeah, we saw a lot of that today. So
Yeah, we definitely did. We had like Alonso, Kevin Magnussen was up to seventh at one point, and he was like overtaking a lot. He like banged into the back of Yuki Tsunoda as he was trying to overtake him at one point. It was like, sorry guys, there was a lot going on in the midfield, and where they can race closer together, it was a lot more bunched up, and even they were definitely jockeying for the lower half of the points positions, which I thought was really cool to see, because you did get some amazing little performances at some points. Particularly, I'm trying to think, but there was like definitely some amazing points with Alonso. Norris, I remember him overtaking a couple of people at one point as well, just to get himself back up like higher into the points and stuff. It was really really good to see, and I don't know, just nice racing. Like it just felt fun.
yeah, I think you're right. There was a lot of interesting action happening in the midfield, and a lot of like on the little graphics on the side, the bar, you'd see things like battle for eighth, and you're thinking eighth, okay. But it's quite nice to see that there's like three cars that are like so close together, and yeah, they managed to keep it going for a while, and like it's just nice to see the cleaner, closer racing. So I think the new regs this year, so far, 3 races in, have been good to see,
Yeah,
and I've enjoyed the racing.
so for you, who was your winner of the day today?
I'm gonna go with Russell, I think. Considering how bad the Mercedes cars have been, they've been so far off the pace of like the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, and they've basically been like racing in the midfield. To see him convert that into a podium finish on his third race for the team, I think was pretty impressive. And to also fend off a 7-time world champion who's behind you. Like, obviously they're teammates, but Lewis is known for battling with his teammates, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to keep away from Lewis and keep away from that kind of fighting, and to be able to finish on the third step of the podium, I think it was yeah, just pretty impressive racing from George. So he's definitely my winner of the day, I think.
Sure.
What about you?
I'm gonna say Alex Albon.
Yeah.
He managed to go for 56 laps, I want to say 57 laps on one set of tires, which in itself is pretty amazing if you are aware of how the tire compounds work, and how easy it is for them to rupture if you don't look after them properly. So the fact that he managed to do that is an amazing feat in itself, because I'm sure those engineers were like biting their nails, making sure that he managed it until the end. And then he managed to allow enough of a deficit that when he pitted, I think under the like final virtual safety car, maybe, or like just
It was on the
wasn't
last
pitted
lap.
anyway. Yeah, it was on the last lap. He managed to pit and he managed to get back out into the points positions. So the fact that he scored a point for Williams, and we know how hard it is for Williams to score points, the fact that they managed to do this amazing little strategy, which was completely different to everybody else's. I'm going to give my winner of the day to Alex Albon and by extension, the Williams team. I think one of the things I was thinking about the other day, though, bear with me for my little side venture for a second. We give winner of the day and loser of the day kind of like based on overall performances and also a bit of luck. And I was thinking like, I wonder if we should introduce a winner of the day like simply based on luck and like unluckiness, because you have performance and then you have luck, and then sometimes they go hand in hand, and sometimes some people are just outright. I'm thinking like Ocon in Hungary and like and Gasly and stuff like that. Like you just get some races where people are simply amazingly lucky and it's not for any of their own skill. But anyway, side thought, something to consider for later. Who was your loser of the day?
Oh, oh God, I actually don't know. I feel like I want to give it. It's an obvious one, but I feel like I want to give it to Max. But at the same time, I feel like there are other people. Who else DNF'd? Vettel. His first race of the season as well. That was his first race back this year. So there you go. I'll just give it to Vettel. First race back. You've had a horrible weekend, and then today you just crash out and DNF. And again, just makes me question what's going on at Aston Martin. I mean, they've got such a pretty car, but it's not anything special at all. So yeah, my loser of the day goes to my favourite driver, Seb Vettel.
I'm not gonna lie, he was hands down already my like loser of the weekend, because not even loser of the day, but just in general, he's just had a really shocking return. Considering the fact that he's a four-time world champion, and some of the mistakes that he made this weekend, you could argue that maybe he's still, not feeling very well from COVID. He's not done very many laps in the car, but just shocking. Like, can't even keep it on the track. Shocking. So, yeah, definitely my loser of the day and even loser of the weekend this weekend.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
But yeah,
so we have Imola, yes, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Not next weekend, the weekend after. We're back to European timing. And yeah, I think that's going to be a good one, because obviously Italy, Ferrari, home turf. So I'm looking forward to it. Imola's a great track.
Definitely one of the crazier tracks. A lot of stuff always happens in Imola. Last year was Bottas and Russell. Do you remember that little tussle? Yeah. Did not mean to rhyme there. Cool, yeah. So 2 weeks, join us for Imola. We will be dissecting the race again, and hopefully we'll have something special for you. Anyway, guys, join us. Follow us on all of our social media. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, and soon we will have TikTok. I promise you it is coming. Please follow us at On The Chicane, and we will be back in a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.
Bye.